Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Invest With Nikkei podcast. I am super excited to be here. This is the podcast where we talk all about real estate, wealth building, and how to build your fire so you can create financial independence and retire early. And everyone talks about St. Augustine. They know Orlando, they know Jacksonville, they know Miami, but Florida's most quiet, powerful investment markets might actually be Palm Coast and Flagler Beach. We've got waterfront homes, boating communities, golf courses, beach access, lower entry prices, and some incredible appreciation and that potential that really investors haven't been paying attention to. Today, I'm joined by savvy STR agent Annie Wild, our Palm Coast and Flagler Beach expert, to break down where the opportunities are, what investors need to know, and where she believes this market is headed next. Welcome to the show, Annie.
Thank you, Nikki. Super excited to be here and just share with everyone about Palm Coast.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time and being with us. And would just love to tell everybody about yourself. What made you fall in love with this area and how did you get into real estate?
Absolutely. Well, so I have kind of a varied past. I raised my family in the Palm Coast area, so I'm very familiar with everything it brings to the table, both as a resident, but also as a visitor. Um, I worked in hospitality for a long time. And so managing hotels in the St. Augustine area and northern St. Augustine, I saw very quickly how when we had events, say in Daytona or, St. Augustine proper, how we would see the hotel rooms booked days, weeks in advance. And back then, we used to call all the way up to the Georgia line to see, what kind of availability to have, where are your rates at, all of that, so that when we had guests coming and we were booked solid, we could continue to send them up the way. And it always blew my mind that it was when you had those events, like whether it was NASCAR or Bike Week or events happening in the city of St. Augustine, you would see like an hour radius things were booked. So I've been intrigued with the real estate and short-term rental really ever since then. It took me kind of a roundabout way to find my way into getting my real estate license and everything. And me, I've been pushed from a lot of people just because I've worked in the contracting field and hospitality. Um,
Yeah.
as a contractor, I worked with mainly helping people in roofing situations, negotiating with insurance companies and all that. And I think that's really where I fell in love with the concept of I've always loved architecture. I've always loved homes,
Mm.
but helping people to appreciate the value of your home. But more importantly, as a shopper, I was one of those gals who was addicted to Zillow and the things to look for, what's important, foundationally, what you want to see. So, though I'm new to real estate, I don't think of myself as new to the business. I certainly know my way around a house. I've worked in everything from roofing to AC. So, I tell people I've crawled under the house, I've crawled up in the attic, I've been on top of the roof, I've done demo, done a lot of the work myself. So, I think that really positions me well. I've got grit, and so I know how to dig for the right deals. And of course, dealing with insurance companies, negotiation. I can't go to the movie theaters without negotiating for popcorn.
That's awesome. And you're actually doing, what you say you are because you're about to list your very first flip project, right?
Absolutely. And that's something I'm going to document. I wish I had done more when I started the process. But that's actually pretty exciting. And I will tell you, for those, especially first time investors who are like, where do I start? And they kind of get paralyzed by the fear. Is I was in a situation where a family member needed housing and I didn't have the money to pay for it. I had just moved here, so really putting my name on an apartment lease wasn't really in the cards. So I looked at what few investments I had, my retirement accounts, and I thought, it's a gamble, and I know there's going to be a tax hit, but I'm also confident in myself.
Right.
And just like you said, I always do what I say I'm going to do. Um, and I was armed with just my general knowledge, and I had done like an online wholesaler class. And from that, what stood out was the whole 70% rule. And so I started looking at for sale by owners. I found a home where they were asking. Now, the area I live part time in Virginia, part time Florida. And in Virginia, I'm in a smaller town where things are really affordable. So I found a house that was priced around 95,000. I went through it, but I saw all the nooks and crannies. I stuck my head up in the attic and I saw the roof was failing. I knew the flooring needed replacement and all the foundational stuff. And so without really giving an offer, just commenting on little bits and pieces as we went throughout the house, by the time I got to the front door again with the owner or the seller, he was like, "Ah, I got to tell you, bottom line, I can do 65,000." And I said, "Well, that's great. I have 60,000 and I still have to do renovations and I only have so much credit." And so long story short, the house that was advertised for just under 100,000, I got a signed deal on it for 55. I've put in,
Nice.
I've done a lot of the work myself. I
Right.
don't recommend it. It takes longer and it costs more than you think. Put in about 20,000. I'm getting ready to list it in the next week or so, and I'm probably going to list it right around 119. I've only had it for 6 months, so for a newbie, not a bad turn on investment, and hopefully that's going to prove to lenders that I've got some chops. And again, I'm a great negotiator, and I do it with a gentle smile on my face.
That's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah,
I can't
I'm
wait till
really
you
pumped.
say my listing's under contract and I'm selling my first flip project and I'm on to the next one, right? And I know you're
Oh,
looking for
absolutely.
short-term rental opportunities too. So let's talk about, what makes like Palm Coast different from like St. Augustine or Daytona.
Well, I would say, and you kind of referred to it earlier. You talked about, the word quiet. And I've always referred to Palm Coast as kind of the quiet powerhouse. Everything from the town itself and the county puts a lot of money and time into everything from the parks to, if you've been out to Washington Oaks, to the schools. The infrastructure of Palm Coast is just crazy rich for opportunity. And it's kind of been overlooked in the past, but just since joining Savvy and paying close attention daily to the numbers, I'm watching it slowly tick, tick, tick,
Mm,
climb up. There's a lot of things I love about it, but I have to say, if I had to highlight, if I could only live in one area or choose one area to invest, like right now today, sailboat country, where I lived,
mm,
where my kids grew
yeah.
up. F section, baby.
Yeah, that's an awesome spot. They call it sailboat country because there's literally just hundreds of sailboats over there. And it's a great little boating community. And yeah, that's awesome. I actually lived in Palm Coast for a few years. And what I love about that area is it's so clean, it's so lush. It's so like you go there and you feel like you're in like Jupiter or like somewhere where it's like really expensive, but it's so affordable. You're right. Like what the city, like they constantly are improving the community, and I think there's over 60 bike paths, there's so many parks, there's tons of dog parks. They're big on that, like the pets and pet friendly. The beaches are dog friendly. There's so many new commercial developments that are happening there, lots of good restaurants, and actually, because I grew up in St. Augustine, but I lived there for a few years, I was like, Palm Coast had way more than what St. Augustine had for a while. And now St. Augustine's like on the outskirts, has started getting all that stuff. But like Palm Coast had a lot of things, like they had Texas Roadhouse, for example, like, and we never had any of that in St. Augustine, right? So
Yeah, I
it
remember when
was,
that was built.
yeah, yeah. Palm Coast definitely like the parks, the lushness, the cleanliness, how it's maintained. It's just a very beautiful place, beautiful beaches, a lot of, like you said, the sailboat country. Those waterfront canal homes are a sleeper investment. Like those things are a steal. And if anybody's not looking at those yet, you need to be talking to Annie for sure. So like
They're going
tell me like
fast. I've had my eye on three of them for myself, and one by one, they're gone. It's been less than 30 days. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And
That's
the
awesome.
other thing I love about it is that, we have the proximity. It's really the sweet spot because, 30 minutes north or south, you have St. Augustine and all of its treasures and the history and the beaches and the fun. And then you have Daytona, which is always rocking. But it's a quieter pace, and as you kind of mentioned, it's you almost forget where you are. It's very like old Florida luxury. I remember when we first moved there, pulling up to our house at the time, and we lived in Grand Haven. And one of my sons, who was, I don't know, he's probably 10 or 11 at the time, was like, "Oh, are we rich?" And I said, "Well, in love and spirit." And honestly, I recall every day being very full of gratitude when I would walk into the house and be like, "This is it. This is living."
Yeah.
And it was, even then, it was very affordable. And now to be able to buy waterfront under, just under 700,000, or
Yeah.
a home with a pool and soaring ceilings for 400,000, it's like, not that I've never been one to chase the dollar sign. I think that's probably what makes me a lot different in business than many others. But I've always, you appreciate good things, and to be able to have those benefits. And of course, when we're looking around, it's a very drivable town. We have
Yeah.
guests coming from Georgia and Virginia, and of course, New York and New Jersey.
South Florida.
South Florida too, yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much to offer, and again, the affordability. I don't imagine it's gonna. I mean, my mission is that it's not gonna be. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be as affordable because we're all gonna be flocking there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I own a property there and it does amazing. It does really well for what Palm Coast Builders did. So, originally when Palm Coast was developed, it was planned by a master plan community essentially, and he separated it by sections like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. And it was originally built like as a retirement community, and not necessarily, not an official retirement community, right, Annie? But like that's kind of how it was
Hmm.
marketed and sold, and it was sold to a lot of, like, what did you call it, the for the jerseys and the New Yorkers?
Oh, I called it Palm Jersey.
Palm Jersey. Huge influx of people bought retirement homes, and there was a massive, surge of building in the late '90s, early 2000s. And what I like about Palm Coast is almost all of the homes are well built, solid concrete block homes with, you
Concrete.
like what you
Yep.
said, soaring ceilings, pools. Almost all the pools have cages, so they're all screened, and they have very big lots. That's the other thing about Palm Coast is like it's for you to get a 10,000 square foot lot is like almost standard, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they have huge driveways. Like it's just a really great community. And the thing is they allow short-term rentals. So like let's talk about the restrictions, Annie. Tell
Hmm.
us, like, how easy is it to do short-term rentals there?
Well, actually, that's what's so beautiful about it. And to be honest, I'm kicking myself. I didn't realize it earlier. Um, because of all the flexibility that they have in the town, they do embrace short-term rentals. And essentially, I mean, kind of an easy rule to follow is, if there's no HOA, they likely allow short-term rentals. And the town itself does things to promote short-term rentals, but also to still keep it, kind and beautiful for the neighbors. So you just mentioned something as simple as the driveway. The driveways can accommodate, I know because I had lots of kids and everyone gathered at my house. It was nothing for us to have 10 to 12 cars in the driveway, which translates to the streets are wide open. So there's still
Yeah.
the beautification of, you can walk in the neighborhood, there's not cars parked all over the place. And those kind of rules, those are good and healthy for the city of Palm Coast. I mean, essentially, to get started, it's going to the city. You pay about $450, for your license. And they do have a cap. They, 10 people per household, that kind of thing. But I think as a town and as a county, they're very open to it, and they realize the huge benefit that travelers and the tourists are bringing to Palm Coast, because it's nonstop entertainment. I mean, talk about your perfect environment for an STR. It's like we have constant sports tournaments. I know because my kids were in every sport in the book. It's like you got boating, you got golfing, you have, festivals going on. It really is a powerhouse.
It is. It is. Yeah. And I think I always, because I grew up in St. Augustine, Palm Coast was kind of like, oh, like, it was just, you didn't really go there a lot. But now the whole environment is changing because people are priced out. People are priced out of St. Augustine. I have clients that come to me all the time to try to buy a short term rental in St. Augustine. And I'm like, okay, like they start at like 800 to a million. That's really realistically where they are. And most of my deals are over a million because to be a competitive property, you got to spend that because there's competition and that's what properties cost. Properties are, I mean, that's why I originally moved to Palm Coast is because I could buy a nice big 3-bedroom, 2-bath with lots of space and a pool and all the things on large lot and all that for, 400,000. Right. And so
Hmm.
those deals make a lot of sense. But one thing I wanted to touch on is the golf tourism. There are multiple famous courses. There's a couple oceanfront courses. There's so many, Palm Coast has so many public golf courses as well. So it's very affordable to golf there, which I think is really cool. The beach accesses are free. It's free to park at the beaches. And one
Exactly.
thing, yeah, I think so because I actually own there and I have a property now, the one that we lived in, we turned into a short-term rental. The biggest feedback I get from guests is like, wow, this is such a good location. Like it's literally just, we can go to Orlando for the day, Daytona for the day, St. Augustine for the day, Jacksonville for the day. It's so central. And what I love about it is getting around right now there's not a lot of traffic, but I know that
Hmm.
will change over time, just like any growing area does. So let's talk about, so we talked about the canal front homes. We know that those perform really well, but like what other types of properties perform well in the Palm Coast Flagler Beach area?
I would say, and again, it's laid out, it's alphabet soup in a good way, like the W section, and areas like you can get a golf course front home with a pool, right over by Pine Lakes. We also have Pine Harbor. We have, there's the Grand Reserve Golf. There's a lot of golfing opportunities that are open to the public. And then, of course, if golfing is your passion, there's also memberships available, at some of the more high end locations. I don't know if you've ever been out by the Hammock Resort,
Oh
but I
yeah,
mean,
I've
can
been.
you imagine? I'm not a golfer. I'm more of a a fighter. I don't think I'm gentle enough for golfing, but I mean, just the idea of being out on, it's quintessential, again, old Florida, that you could be golfing. It used to be you only saw that if you were out, in Northern California. And now actually I had a call earlier today from a golfing family looking for just that. And they wanted to know how many different golf courses. I'm like, well, there's Halifax Plantation, there's Grand Haven, the list goes on and on. But
Palm
again,
Harbor, yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's also it's affordable, where
yeah.
you'd be paying. I know when we had our big home and the kids were younger, we'd have people coming to visit all the time, and they were coming to visit the beaches, in the splendor of the ocean, but more often than that, they wanted to know about the golfing. So that
Mm,
was key. And again, they were surprised how much more affordable it was as compared to elsewhere.
right, yeah, that's great. So it's not just Palm Coast, but Flagler County also consists of Flagler Beach and the Hammock
Hmm.
area. So let's talk about Flagler Beach because it's a little bit different of a market than Palm Coast.
Exactly. Well, no, so Flagler Beach is a bit of a unicorn. And if you've been over there lately and see all the new growth, they're rebuilding the pier. They got the Margaritaville, and you can go up there and, have rooftop dining and all of that. And I think most people assume that, the restrictions in Flagler are much tighter, but it is possible to, be able to get that golden ticket. There are still some licenses that are they're grandfathered in. So of course, it's really important. There are a few beachfront properties that I've had my eye on just in the last few weeks that do have that access. So can you imagine being one of the very few forefront properties, oceanside, and you can get in under 2 million as compared to what you'd be looking at, if you either go to the north or the south, and being able to do short-term rentals. You're going to be one of the only ones in the field. There's not a whole lot out there, but I mean, again, it's absolutely beautiful. In Flagler County, we were hit by a lot of storms, and they've just been magical in how they've been able to kind of recover and grow from that. I believe definitely in the ebbs and flows, and Flagler County has really rolled with the punches.
Yeah, Flagler County or Flagler Beach is like a kind of, it feels like a old surf town to me.
Oh yeah.
It's just, it's definitely, it's not commercialized. It's all locally owned.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely has like just pure beach vibes. You can go to the restaurants barefoot, type of feel. But there is starting to be like a little bit more refinement and like higher, what I would call more sophisticated places coming in, restaurants and things like that. But it's been around for a long time. And yeah, there is massive development happening there. Like you said, the Compass Margaritaville, and the redoing of the whole pier. They're reinvesting into that area, and it's definitely a great spot. Now, I know in Flagler Beach there's some additional regulations and restrictions we have to consider. So tell us what works in Flagler Beach from an investment perspective.
Well, generally, from an investment perspective, again, it's a very, very limited inventory. So, number one, you have to be prepared to move fast. So, that's not something like, okay, thank you for the information. Let me review the pro forma for a few weeks, because it's going to be gone. Number one, generally, what I'm seeing are these either oceanfront or one street off. You're getting a high-end design, and you're probably coming in between like 1.4, 1.8 as far as that goes. And again, the key is you have to look for an opportunity where either the license has been grandfathered in, and or because of the incredible builds that they're doing, the structural part of it, Flagler is now allowing some of those to have licensing for short-term rentals. And the thing I didn't mention about Flagler and talking about it being like old Florida is that you kind of have to go to really understand. It's like, the colorful artwork you see on the side of the buildings. And now you're seeing little, wineries are popping up along the ocean front that you can be sipping and looking out over the ocean. But
yeah,
even some,
I love the Get Slushed, the slushy winery place.
they have
It's so
those.
good.
I mean, just the being able to dine and feeling the ocean right there. I mean, and you and I were driving along, along US 1 just last week, and the water, it was like being on the Caribbean. It was absolutely
That's
gorgeous.
beautiful.
And if you haven't been there during the holiday season, my very, very favorite part of Flagler, actually my two favorite parts, when I could eat them, was Swillerbees, but I can't eat those anymore. But they do have ginormous donuts. You have to weight lift to hold them. They're so heavy.
So
But
good.
my very, very favorite that I think is indicative of the area and the vibe is that they do a huge Christmas parade where
Yeah.
Santa Claus literally like parachutes in, and it's just like the streets are packed and the kids are happy and screaming, and there's just a beautiful vibe. And that's why I always loved living there, because I felt like, there was a good amount of commerce, but it's almost like it's kept nice and clean. There's a lot
Yeah.
of growth coming into the area, but there's still the old world values. And, as a
It's a
mom,
very
I feel
tight
like
knit
that's important.
community.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Flagler Beach. So the difference I would say between Flagler Beach and Palm Coast is Flagler Beach is definitely beach town, but you've got this very strong, tight knit community over there. Whereas Palm Coast, because it was kind of like sold as retirement, it's a ton of second homes and absentee owners. So you don't, I feel like Palm Coast doesn't have that straight same sense of like really tight knit community. But it's good because
Hmm.
it's good for investors. It's
Right.
investors. It's smart for you to go into a market like that. And that's why Flagler Beach is more heavily regulated, right? Because it is more families, and of course there's tons of
Yeah.
rentals, right? But
Hmm.
it is like more of a community there, and they want to protect the families that live there, so that's why they restrict it a little bit more. But yeah, I love Flagler Beach. Palm Coast also does a Christmas parade. They do the boat Christmas parade, the sailboats and all the
Yeah,
boats,
yeah,
which is kind of
absolutely. Well,
cool.
it's very cool, and if you and again, it's affordable enough that you can live. When my kids moved out, we had a townhouse, and again, we're right on the water. And not only would you see the sailboat parade and everything, but like you're just hanging out, and there's manatees are right there at your feet, and the dolphins are coming to visit. And it's like when I say it's magical, I'm just not making it up. it,
Yeah,
it's
it's
for real.
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the other
Yeah.
area we have is, if you're looking for something that's a little more like guest friendly, family friendly for investors, is we also have Cinnamon Beach, which is,
Let's talk about Cinnamon Beach. Go.
yes. Well, Cinnamon Beach, there's so many things that I love about it, and I used to always walk by there and kind of imagine, I wish I had known more about short-term rentals back there because I would have swiped one up. But it's like
Right.
you have the beach access. Many of them they're either oceanfront or some of them are lakeside. They have pools, splash pads, fitness centers, all of that. And so if you're the type of investor where you're looking for an opportunity that someone else is taking care of all the amenity work, a gated community, um, that is a very attractive area for everything from your family beach vacations to your snowbirds, golfers. Hammock Beach Resort is right over there. But I think Cinnamon Beach really gives, more of a reward for your money as far as that goes. And then you're right next to, great nature, the walking, the bike paths. I mean, it's an established great rental area that's really chosen specifically for STRs.
Yeah, that community was built. It is a luxury waterfront vacation rental resort, and there's not anything like that up and down the coast. I would say until you get like, I mean, to down to South Florida, there's nothing like that. St. Augustine doesn't even have anything like that.
No.
So it's a beautiful. Now that is an HOA, but
Right.
it's the only place that has like an on-site restaurant, bar. It's got like adult pool, kid pool, splash park, tons of great amenities. Um, and yeah, that's a great little area that you can buy houses or oceanfront condos over there. And the numbers work really well for what they
Mm-hmm.
produce. Some of the houses are doing, you can buy them around 1.2, 1.5, and they're doing like 250,000 in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the condos you can buy like 6 to 700 and they're doing 100K plus. So those numbers, do work really well there in that little pocket. And that is like country club vibes. So if you're like
Right.
into the country club. Oh, wow, I'm getting some birthdays here.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay. I don't know how that
That's what it's
happened,
like
but
being in my head most of the time. That's what it's like.
right? So, yeah, the country club vibes over at Cinnamon Beach is really, and so you can opt in to join the country club or not, but it is like golf cart community. You got the multiple golf courses, you got the country club, you've got all the things that come with having a country club. And so that is definitely a little pocket. One thing we didn't
Right.
tell about, Annie, is the awesome state parks. Do you want to
Oh
tell
yeah.
them about the state
Yeah, I've gotten
parks?
lost. I've gotten lost in almost all of them.
Right.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
yeah, I mean, there is the state parks, of course, and you can get a pass. They charge a few dollars to get in. Washington Oaks is probably one of my very, very favorites. Whether you're looking for like a nice little nature hike or you want to take pictures, it's great. They do. I mean, you have to orchestrate it ahead of time for weddings and all that, but they have plant sales and community concerts and that kind of thing. There's also Plantation, where you can see the original sugar mills. And it's really cool to kind of walk through them and kind of transport yourself back like hundreds of years. Remember, we're the first coast. And
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it was. I don't think the first coast would be here if it was up to me. I probably would have turned around like, that's a lot of work. But it is so beautiful and so lush. I mean, I recall seeing like wild hogs running around, and because it's more of a tropical landscape, it's easier to hike, I can tell you, as compared to being up in Virginia.
Mm.
It's flatter, it's a little easier on the knees and that kind of thing, but it's just absolutely beautiful. There's so much to do, and that's, I mean, yet again, why not just Palm Coast, but Flagler County in general. It has such diversity, and you
Yeah.
can't be at the beach all the time. We have to watch our beautiful skin, and that's a great way to to get out there, whether it's taking pictures. They do a lot of free programming and tours and bird walks and that kind of things, and we haven't even gotten into the water yet, so
Yeah. And then I forgot, like we actually have mountain biking trails in Palm Coast, which is
hmm.
kind of unheard of in Florida.
No, it is, and it's not hard to get to. They're all off. I know, like if you go up Colbert and you're going by Grand Haven, that's where you come upon. There's a great
The Graham Swamp.
bike trail. Yeah. And then if you go a little further up, you can get on the bike trail. And now I think there's probably 30, 40 miles straight. I know because I've biked them, and it's great because it's protected. A lot of them have like bike repair stops. Some of
Hmm.
the areas will even have bathrooms, which are key if you're doing a long bike ride. Um,
Yeah.
it's like there's just so much from the adventure to the boating that Palm Coast has to offer. And
Yeah, they
again, it's
definitely
kind
built
of
this
the
city
quiet
for
giant.
outdoor adventuring. That's really how
Hmm.
they built it, which is so cool. Just
Right.
got to get the word out there so people know. All right,
Yep.
Annie. Well, it has been awesome getting to know Palm Coast and Flagler and just you. Tell the audience how they can find you and what services you offer so that they know how to work with you.
Okay, well, definitely you can find me on Facebook, or if the best way is really just to go on the Savvy STR, it's Savvy Agents. If you go on there, you'll not only get to see my profile and all the properties, but everything that Savvy has to offer. Um, which again is another reason that I love working with Savvy, because we all work together as a team. So when you get me, you get Nikki, you get the rest of our team, and all the resources that we have to go along with that. DM me, you can call me. I don't mind giving out my number, it's already out there anyway.
Go for it.
So have your pen. It's 276-403-7321. But I have a small caveat. Only call me if you want to make money and you want to find a great investment, and you want a digger who's going to negotiate well for you. That's me.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah, and we will put all of that in the show notes so you guys can access Annie's contact, go find her on socials or reach out to her. And we are so excited that you were able to join us. We're grateful for tuning in if you made it this far, and we will see you guys next time.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop.